Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. Today we're going to be talking about trimmers and edgers, and we'd like to thank Christy Jones for liking and sharing the podcast. In the 1970s, George Ballas had a worker who was bitten by a poisonous snake while trimming his lawn with garden shears. So he decided to take some fishing line and a tin can.
And the worker or George Ballas?
George Ballas. And
so we don't know what happened to the worker?
No, all we know is George Ballas connected this can to the end of a gas edger. He was using the fishing line, and he turned this into the first weed eater.
Wow. We still tell some tragic stories, don't we?
And you know who George Ballas was?
No.
It is the grandfather of Mark Ballas from Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
With string trimmers, it makes it easy to cut grass and weeds in tight areas where a lawnmower can't get to. And you can get these in gas, corded electric, and cordless models. With gas string trimmers, they're great for a large area. If you have tall grass or weeds, they're very powerful. Although they're going to be heavier than electric, you're going to need gas and oil. You have yearly maintenance for these. You're going to have to get tune-ups eventually, replace a spark plug, and they can be hard to start sometimes. With a gas trimmer, you're going to have about a 16 to 18 inch cutting area depending on your model, and you can get 2-cycle or 4-cycle styles.
Okay.
And with a 2-cycle, it's going to require a 2-cycle oil that you're going to add to the gas can. So you need to mix your gas and oil before you pour it into the gas tank.
Right.
And then you need to make sure that you know the ratio. So you need to know whether it's a 50-to-1 or a 40-to-1 ratio that they're recommending. And with 4-cycle trimmers, you've got a gas tank and then a separate tank or a container for your oil. So you're just adding straight gas. You don't have to mix the gas and oil. And then with this, you're just checking your oil with a dipstick occasionally. 2-cycle trimmers have been the most popular because they're lighter and more powerful compared to the same size in a 4-cycle engine. But these new models in 4-cycle engines, they're becoming more competitive because they create less noise. They start easier, so you have less priming and pulling to get them started. People love that you don't have to mix the oil and gas, and they're producing less emissions compared to the 2-cycles. And there's a lot of areas that have new restrictions to be CARB compliant. So CARB, C-A-R-B, is the California Air Restrictions Board, and many states are following California's lead on this, so they're requiring 4-cycle power equipment rather than 2-cycle.
Interesting.
If you're purchasing a gas trimmer and you're left-handed, I would look at where the exhaust goes. A few of the complaints I saw, left-handed people were getting burned by the exhaust. So they're saying make sure you get a trimmer that vents straight out the back.
Drag if you're left-handed.
Yeah, it is like a right-handed world, man. But you'd want to try out the trimmer in the store to see how it lays against your body, to see if it's comfortable.
Well, a lot of them are on display.
Yeah.
Which I don't really understand because the picture's right on the box, but I guess apparently if you're left-handed, you want to try it out.
Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. It's for left-handed people, Cindy.
Okay, well.
Gas trimmers come in curved shaft, straight, and split shaft. With a curved shaft, they're usually the lightest. They're good for small yards, tight spaces, the easiest to control, and some of these come with vibration mounts. With a straight shaft, you have a much longer reach, so this is very good for getting under shrubs if you have decks, very comfortable for taller people. And with a split shaft, this has a removable head, and you're able to add different attachments to this, so you can take off your trimmer head, you can put an edger head in there, or you can put a pruner. Some of them have hedge trimmers or tillers. I saw one with a blower attachment.
Oh, that's exciting.
So pretty amazing. Some companies have easy start or fast start features, so you have less pulling to get the engine going.
Right, because it's a process to start one of these.
Yeah, with most gas trimmers, quite a few steps to get it going, so you have to turn it to on. You're usually going to have a choke lever that you have to move to cold start, or it's going to say start. and then there's going to be some type of primer bulb on most models where you have to push this, and you might have to push it up to 8 times, and then you're going to start pulling this handle on a cord that's moving the engine, and now you're going to be pulling your throttle, and it may take 8 times pulling this, but it depends. If you haven't,
if you were good with both hands, this would be a lot easier.
Right, exactly. So if you haven't tuned it up, or if your spark plug is fouled, I mean, sometimes they are hard to start, and then once you get your engine started, you need to move that choke lever to run. So it's a process when you're using gas. If you don't like the idea of pull starting your engine, Troy-Bilt, and there's a couple other manufacturers, but Troy-Bilt has this jump start system for some of their trimmers.
Yeah,
so this
spell it?
Troy, and then Bilt is Bilt.
Yeah, that's the part I wanted you to spell.
Anyway, this device that they have, you plug it into the engine to start it rather than pulling the handle and cord. So they have like 3 different types. So one of the systems attaches to a drill. You plug this into the side of your trimmer, and you pull the trigger on your drill, and that turns the engine over for the trimmer. And then another style is corded. So you plug in this device, you plug it into the side of your trimmer, pull the trigger, and it starts it for you. Or they have a cordless version.
Nice.
So that's kind of interesting if you either don't have the upper body strength, or if you just, you just don't like to exert yourself. For large areas, or if you're clearing large overgrown lots, you can get wheeled four-cycle gas trimmers. So this has a handle like a lawnmower, and usually 2 wheels on the back, and it rides on the front trimmer head, and you can raise the trimmer head to different heights, and usually they come in about a 20-inch cutting width.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, very effective.
What's the normal cutting range?
For gas, probably 16 to 18 inches is pretty normal. With electric, 12 to 15.
Well, that's a big difference.
And, yeah, I would say if you're going under, let's say, fences or around areas where you don't have landscape material, if you have a wider cutting area, it's going to be faster.
Right.
But if you're doing a lot where you're going around landscape material or stones or fence posts, you're really only using the edge of that. You're not really using the whole.
It's kind of tilted down, right?
Right. Well, you wouldn't want to totally tuck it in there where you're using the whole width, because if it's slamming against, bricks or landscape material, you're just going to...
Or your house.
Right. You're just going to beat up the string. It's going to tear through it much faster. So I would say if you have wide open areas with matters, if it's just the average home and you're going around a lot of landscape area, get the one that's most comfortable.
Well, we should talk about that too. It's just that little string is what's doing all the cutting.
Right, exactly.
So when my dad was teaching me how to use the trimmer, he didn't really explain it too well. So he's just like, just go up to the chain link fence, right? So I just butted the head right against the chain link fence. Yeah, it took out all the grass, but then I'm like, hey, there's no more string, because I just tore it up.
Right.
So it's a little, you have to go through a learning curve.
With corded electric trimmers, they're lighter weight than gas, quiet, low maintenance. You don't have to worry about tune-ups, and all you have to do is pull a trigger to get it started. Usually less expensive.
But you have to worry about the extension cord.
Right. And with your extension cord, I would make sure that it's outdoor rated, it's grounded, and it's rated higher than your trimmer. So most of the corded models are going to be anywhere from 2 to 8 amps. I would make sure the extension cord is rated higher than that.
Or you could listen to our extension cord podcast.
Right. Cordless electric trimmers are more expensive than corded, but with this new technology in lithium-ion batteries, the cordless trimmers are much stronger and last longer between charges, and then you have no restrictions of that power cord. If you have a large yard, though, I would look at the run time or make sure that there's an additional battery so that you always have a backup. Right. Well, you get a built-in brake.
I guess.
The 40 to 80 volts were rated the highest. And then look at the charge time if you don't have a backup battery. Some have 30-minute or less fast charge systems. And a lot of the models I was looking at, 20 to 45 minutes was pretty common with the runtime.
Right.
And then I would always look for variable speed. And all these I would look for variable speed because it allows you to control around delicate surfaces. And also with the cordless, it's going to extend your battery life.
Well, what's interesting, a lot of these companies now, their batteries are interchangeable between different kinds of power equipment.
Right, which is great. So if you have one line, you can get the blower or the
lawnmower, the
right,
trimmer.
Exactly. Yeah. So very convenient.
And then just have multiple batteries just sitting around.
Right.
Charging.
Always charged. Well, what's interesting about the lithium-ion batteries is that most manufacturers recommend that you keep them at a full charge.
Right.
And you don't let them fully discharge. So, if you have some type of indicator light on there, before it gets all the way down, you want to take it out, put it back onto the charger, and let it recharge. That's why it's nice to have a backup battery. And you don't want to store it anywhere where it's high heat. Heat kills lithium-ion batteries.
Which, I mean, who knows that?
Yeah,
because if you're storing them in your garage or in the shed.
Right, exactly. So you'd want to keep it inside where it's a moderate temperature, and then they need to be used. You don't want to just let them set. Some of these manufacturers are saying if you let a lithium-ion battery set for more than a year and you're not using it, crystals start to build up on the cells, and you'll shorten the life of the battery.
So you should make sure you read your manual on how to maintain the batteries on all your power equipment.
Right, and each type is a little different, so it's definitely worth reading. When you're comparing trimmers, the diameter of the trimmer line is a guide to its power. So trimmers with .065 to .080 are considered light duty, great for small yards. .085 to .105 is medium duty, and .110 and above is considered heavy duty. And each trimmer is designed to handle a certain diameter, so you want to make sure that you're checking the label. And then when you're going to replace your trimmer line, you need to match that.
So this will be on the box, or?
Yes.
So you should kind of remember that?
Yes. You also have different shapes, and you can get round or twisted, or it can have edges like a square or star shape.
Right.
And anything with a shape is going to cut through thicker weeds much better. Round is going to be the least expensive, and it actually lasts the longest. For like an average size home, the round is less likely to break when it's hitting against landscape material.
How about a chain link fence?
Right, or a chain link fence. Round is good. So trimmer line is usually made out of nylon, but you can upgrade to some of these composite materials if you have tough weeds. So again, look at the packaging.
Does the color matter at all?
Usually it's color coded for the size.
Okay.
So a different color is going to be a different thickness in diameter. And most trimmers are going to have a spool with the trimmer line wrapped around it, and it can either have one or two lines coming out of the head.
So this is something you have to wind yourself?
You can either wind it yourself, or you can buy replacement spools that are pre-wound, which is more expensive.
Right, but if you're lazy.
Right, yeah, it's funny how many people just don't want to wind it.
So if you're feeling ambitious and going to wind the spool by yourself, do you have any tips?
Well, in general, you're going to have usually a cap. There's a lot of different models, so you're going to have to look at your instructions. But most will have a cap that you remove, and the spool is going to be under that. And you're either going to have just one line that comes out of the head or two. And in that case, there's usually a divider in the center where you're going to run the line on both sides of this, so two lines come out. But let's say we have a single line that comes out of it. You'd pull out your spool, and there's going to be a hole generally in the spool that you push the end of the line in, and you start wrapping this. And you want to wrap this tight and uniform all the way across and then come back the other direction. You don't want any slack, because if this hits something and you wound this loosely, then it'll pull itself down and get tight, and it won't unroll when you want to allow a little bit of the string to come out.
That's a bummer.
Right, so you need to uniform and tight back and forth, and there's usually going to be a cleat to grab onto the end of the line to hold it as you have this tight and in place. And then you want about 4 inches or so beyond the spool when you attach it to the cleat on top. You're going to cut off the excess, and now you're going to take that line and push it through the hole in the main body of the trimmer, pop your spool in, and then you're going to push it off to release the line so it's not held by the cleat anymore. Pop your cap on, and then you're ready to roll.
So when you're buying the replacement spool, you know, when you're going to wind it yourself, does that do like one time, you know, one round?
Oh, you usually have quite a few.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on how much you buy. There's a lot of different lengths that you can
different
buy.
Sizes.
Oh, no, you'll get multiple times out of it.
All right.
You can also get plastic or metal replacement blades for heavy weeds, so you can pull off your old head and attach a new one. But I would look at the models before you get it, because if you, let's say you have vacation property, or you do a couple different projects where you're around your house, let's say you're just using the normal trimmer line, but then you do other projects where you have to go through heavy weeds, you can attach these blades to it. And then quick or fixed line or easy load heads have these pre-cut links of trimmer line that fit into a slot. So when it gets short, all you do is you pull out the old trimmer line and then you insert a new length.
Oh,
so
I've seen these, yeah.
And it usually has 2 or 4 of the trimmer lines on a head. And when you get to 2, it's going to cut through weeds much faster, and the ones with 4 are really good for heavy weeds. When you're comparing trimmers, I would also see how the trimmer line is fed, and most of them are going to have a bumping mechanism. So there's a spring-loaded button on the head. As you tap this on the ground, it allows the line to extend, so centrifugal force pulls out more line as it slowly wears down or breaks off. You can also have a button feed where you're pressing a button, or there's manual feed. You actually have to turn it off, press a button, and then pull out the line, which is not as convenient. Many styles also have an adjustable head that can rotate to become an edger, so that's a very nice feature. Some of the top-rated gas models, and all of these need to be spelled. So Echo, E-C-H-O, Hitachi, H-I-T-A-C-H-I, Poulan, P-O-U-L-A-N, Husqvarna, H-U-S-Q-V-A-R-N-A, Stihl, S-T-I-H-L, and Makita. I'm not going to spell Makita. With corded, Black & Decker, Greenworks, and Ryobi were all rated very high. Ryobi, R-Y-O-B-I. With cordless, the EGO 56 volt was rated very high. Ryobi, they're 40 volt, and the Works 56 volt. And Works W-O-R-X, this is the model I have. So it's great. It's a 56 volt lithium ion battery. You can turn the head so it becomes an edger, and the thing is just amazing. I'm telling you, it's almost as powerful as my gas trimmer. And so I got an electric lawnmower so that my son could, start to have some chores, because I was scared that he wouldn't be able to pull start. He's kind of scrawny, so he wouldn't be able to pull start the lawnmower. I didn't want to worry about him dealing with gas and oil. So once I got that electric and it worked so well, I decided to get this Works 56 volt cordless, and it just does an amazing job. And what I like about the edger is it actually has a wheel.
Yeah,
so
cool.
You can use it like a trimmer, and then you flip its head, and it has a little wheel to guide it, so you just get a perfect cut when using it as an edger. So that's a good one. If you want an edger to cut a clean edge on your lawn or landscape area, they come in gas, electric, or manual. And with the manual, you can get that half-moon blade on a handle, and you just work this along the edge of your grass. You can get single or dual-wheeled edgers, and this has a long handle and the circular blade with a serrated edge, and this trims the grass all along, let's say, a sidewalk. And these are very easy to use, especially once you cut that initial groove into the soil.
Right.
It's easy to work these back and forth against your lawn. And then most gas edgers are going to be 4-cycle. They're going to have a 9-inch blade, and it can either be rectangular or star-shaped, and this can be raised or lowered. You can get 3 or 4 wheels. If you're going to be doing a lot against curbs, the 4-wheel is going to be much more stable.
Oh, interesting.
Electric corded edgers are usually going to be 10 or 12 amps, so you definitely have to check your extension cord. You want it outdoor, grounded, and you want it rated more amps than your edger. Because if you use an extension cord that is rated at lower, let's say you have a 12 amp corded edger, you can potentially ruin your motor and shorten the life of it if you're using an extension cord that's rated below that, and then you have the potential to overheat your extension cord, ruin your extension cord. So a 100-foot 16-gauge cord is going to allow you up to 10 amps. A 100-foot 14-gauge cord will give you up to 13 amps. And a 100-foot 12-gauge cord will give you up to 15 amps. When you're working with an edger, you want to make sure that you're wearing goggles, hearing protection if you're using a gas model, wear work clothes, you want to protect your legs, because these metal blades, they're high speed, and they can throw rocks, landscape material, they can chip concrete and throw that, asphalt can be thrown.
Who knew? It's so dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've been reading quite a few of these forums, and they say that you need to make sure that you're cleaning any debris up while you're trimming. Watch for people and pets. A couple of these landscape professionals were saying that they would have new employees who didn't do an initial cleanup, and this debris would be thrown, and they chipped up a few cars, and so they ended up having to pay for the repairs to the car. So they can be dangerous, so you want to make sure that they're, and especially a couple of the gas models, one of the other things they were saying is never walk away from it. I guess there's a couple models that they keep running, like if you step away and, you have you have the potential of children or pets getting hung up on this.
Well, a couple years ago, my parents had just gotten their siding redone.
Okay.
And they had hired a new lawn service to take care of the lawn. And probably 2 months after they just got the siding redone, my dad was taking out the garbage on the side of the house, and he noticed the siding was all damaged.
Ah, what a shame.
So they must have just hit it with with either the trimmer or the edger.
Right.
And so they're no longer working for my parents.
Some of the top-rated edgers for gas: Ariens, Ariens, Cub Cadet, and Yard Machines. Electric corded: Black & Decker, Greenworks, Works, and Homelight. For cordless, Works and Ryobi.
Do you have anything else to add?
I would say with gas trimmers, they're the most powerful. Make sure that you're looking at the difference between 2-cycle and 4-cycle. With 2-cycle, you have to mix your oil and gas. Look for carb compliant. You want to store your gas trimmers upright because many models, they tend to leak if they're laid on their side.
That's a bummer.
Add a stabilizer
Especially if you have a wood shed.
And you're a smoker. Add stabilizer to your gas every time you fill it up, and then you want to shake it before pouring it into the 2-cycle tank on your trimmer. With 4-cycle trimmers, you want to make sure that you're changing the oil, the spark plug every season, or check the manufacturer's routine. With electric trimmers, I would look at the attachments. I think an edger option really makes a really nice versatile tool. And then when you're using trimmers or edgers, make sure that you're wearing eye protection, ear protection for any models that are over 85 decibels. Make sure you're protecting your legs and your feet. And then watch out with your trees. You don't want to use these trimmer right around your tree because you can actually kill your tree.
Really?
If you use your trimmer line all the way around it and you start cutting into the bark.
That's a drag. Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, the Spotify mobile app, or the Google Play Music app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our book, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.